Dear learners, today we are going to look at history of travel literature. So, a short overview of the history of travel writing, and I would like to pose this question: how did our passion for reading and writing about uh, our journeys came about? And also, what intrigues you to take up this travel literature? Travel writing through the ages and overview, we will look at starting from the ancient period. So, for what purpose people travel in the ancient times? Number one is in order to escape from war and from different kinds of atrocities. And also, the second reason in the ancient world is to conduct trade by land or sea, and to visit religious pilgrimages and shrines, which is also followed in the medieval period. And the next one is to administer and maintain various empires of the ancient world. And when we talk about travel writing, there are different types of travel writing. The amount of writers reporting about the food they tasted in foreign destinations, books with history lessons about certain places, and personal narratives about a person's excitement, and also the struggles of navigating through unknown territories and meeting foreign people are endless. So, what different types of reporting can we find in the history of travel writing? So, when we are talking about travel writing, there are a couple of distinctions to be made. One is travelogues, the second one is travel stories. So, travelogue is actual reports about someone's trip or someone's journey, and travel stories, which is a realistic narration about a journey meant for a wider audience and usually with a certain literary value to it. And the third one is travel guides. So, travel guides are usually a publication with practical information and tips or advice about a certain destination meant for people who wants to visit that place. With all stories, that is oral narratives, it's hard to distinguish between a travel story or a travelogue. This is because we don't know the veracity and motive of the story because it tends to change or manipulate by the narrators. Most of the times, it is also not who commissioned the story in the first place. In all travel writing, the focus lies on the accounts of real or imaginary places. It may range from documentary to the evocative, from literary to journalistic, and from humorous to serious. So you can find it in books, magazines, and nowadays more and more online sources. So, what different types of travel writing are your favorites? And we will be starting with the early period. So, as we have come across the ancient world, what are the purposes before the printing press came into existence, before the writing form comes into existence? What was the ancient world looks like for the traveler? So, these are the purposes, and with this, we will go to the medieval period. So medieval period, which is also considered as a classical era, one of the reason is the pilgrimage narrative, which is part of the culture of the European people. And one of the classical texts that exists in the 14th century is one of the renowned uh, work of Geoffrey Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, which talks about the pilgrimages where the stories are narrated by different people from different sections. And also, one of the famous texts during this period is Marco Moro's Travels and Travels of Sir John Mandeville, which was published in 1956. And now coming to the early modern travel writing. So it begins with Christopher Columbus voyages, where he traveled from Asia continent to the European continent and the person who discovered America. So it is the act, the gesture, the voyage of Christopher Columbus that instigates about the imperial discoveries. And one result of Columbus' startling discoveries was accordingly a new emphasis on the act of eyewitnessing or seeing for oneself and establishing the facts of eyewitnessing, establishing the facts through imperial inquiry. So here, the imperial discovery, the imperial practical discovery inquiry becomes a reference during this period where the voyage of Christopher Columbus have influenced many other contemporary travel writers. And coming to the 18th century, so we have few writers, again, travel writers in the 18th century, which is completely demarcation from the modern period, the early modern period, what happened in the 15th, 16th, 17th century. And here in the 18th century, they not only focus on the culture and about the people, about the geographical landscape, but they also focused on the natural world. So here, one of the example is the famous book publication, which was published in 1735, the book entitled The Systema Naturae, which means the system of nature, which was written by a Swedish naturalist, Linnaeus. So this is one of the first travel writing based on the natural world, apart from the society, apart from the people or the culture, which many writers, travel writers have projected. And coming to the Victorian and Edwardian periods, that is 19th century till 1914, the year the First World War broke out. So here, during this period, one of the most important form of travel writing in this era is of high imperialism was the exploration narratives. So with the British conquest, with the European colonizing other worlds, here during this two period, Victorian and Edwardian period, the exploration narratives centers the genre of travel writing, and also the assumption of cultural and moral superiority that underpinned the European imperial projects are powerfully critiqued in Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness. So this we will be discussing in detail about Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, and in response to this, how uh, how the native people reply back to the way the white people or the foreigners project about the lives and about the culture of native people. And the next one is the travel writing from 1914 to the present. So after the First World War, in between the First and Second World War, modernist modes and in more traditional forms. So many travel writing flourished in the year, in this year between, that is the First World War and Second World War. Why? Because of the war, people from one country, from across the world, they moved from one place to another place within the country and also outside the country. And travel writing's appeal grew still further in the 1930s, which is often regarded as a golden age of literary travel writing, especially in Britain. And now coming to the journal. So earlier it was also known as the Voyage and Travels, and eventually in the modern period, it is they came up with a term called as a travel writing instead of voyage and travels. So with this short overview of the history of travel writing, I would also like you to look at the influence of the advancement of technology in the genre of travel writing. What does technology contribute? How technology, the advancement of technology in the modern world contributes to the genre of travel writing or travel literature? And also the next one is about the relevance, how travel literature is relevant, and how in a more complex world, in a more complex modern world, reporting the world with the usage of internet, digitalization of the modern technology, how travelers or the travel writer, how are they going to report about the world? So travel writing necessarily distorts the world, even as it brings it into view. At the same time, however, recognition of the distortion. So this is challenging. Challenging one as for the readers and also for the travelers. With this, I will stop for today. We will talk about the features and characteristics, and also we will look at about travel and culture in the next video. Thank you.